Welcome to Order Militaris Radio TV, and we're lifelong Catholics, and we do is all for free, and for our love of Jesus Christ, and for our Holy Mother, the Church, and we'll defend our Holy Mother, the Church. Today we're going to be doing a few programs. Now we'll begin a few programs from this book that I got for Christmas. Agent Sniper by Tim Tate, the Cold War super agent and the ruthless head of the CIA. Today is going to be just the introduction, tell you a little bit about this agent. Let us begin. Even for a spy and whatever else he might have been, he was devastatingly successful spy. The man had a remarkable collection of identities. To Poland's intelligence service, he was Lieutenant Colonel Michael Goleniewski, a 40-year-old decorated former army officer, married to a Russian woman and the father of 3 children, who by the end of the 1950s headed one of the most important espionage departments, whilst simultaneously working for the KGB in Moscow. In the same period, members of Poland's anti-communist movement knew and feared him as Dr. Roman Tarnowski, a relentless interrogator of dissidents who worked for the General Prosecutor's Office. In East Germany, to which he traveled regularly, the files of East Germany secret police, the Stasi, also recorded his name as Tarnowski, though without the honorific doctorate. Meanwhile, Ingard Kamp, his East German mistress, in the Soviet sector of Berlin, to whom he funneled thousands of dollars, Deutschmarks and pounds sterling, all stolen from the Soviet bloc spy funds, believed him to be Jan Roman, a widowed Polish newspaper journalist. In the United States, the CIA registered him under his self-chosen cover name as Hecken Schulze, or Sniper, and reported that he was its most valuable undercover agent behind the Iron Curtain, a volunteer spy who smuggled thousands of pages of top-secret intelligence documents and microfilms to America and exposed communist agents throughout Europe and the West. In Britain, the security service, MI5, assigned him his own cryptum, Lavina, and marveled at the quality of information he provided about KGB agents who had burrowed into its sister organization, MI6, as well into some country's most sensitive military establishments. When he defected in January 1961 across divided Berlin and with Soviet bloc intelligence agents hard on his heels, he initially announced himself to U.S. consul officials as Herr Kowalski, before telling them that he was really Lieutenant Colonel Michael Goleniewski. But 24 hours later, as he prepared to board the U.S. military transport flight, which smuggled him out of Germany, he had become Franz Roman Oldenburg, an invented identity that he subsequently used to rent apartments in Arlington, Virginia, and New York. With the CIA's blessing, he also solemnly gave his entire fictitious name for his bigamous marriage, the first of 2 such weddings, to Ingrid Kampf. 2 years later, to a succession of U.S. congressional committees, meetings in secret, and in the successive occupants of the White House, his name was Martin N. Chirico. Yet simultaneously, he was beneficiary of a CIA-sponsored private bill in the House of Representatives to grant him citizenship under his real name, Michael M. Goleniewski. But from 1964, many of the white Russian diaspora, with them the most senior officials of the Russian Orthodox Church in exile, accepted his claim to a very different identity and pedigree. They recognized him as Alexei Nikolaevich Romanov, the miraculously surviving son of the last Tsar and self-proclaimed heir to the imperial throne of Russia. It was this that caused Lieutenant Colonel Michael Goleniewski a lot of trouble. So Michael Goleniewski was the most important yet least understood spy of the early Cold War. In April 1958, while working simultaneously at the top of Poland's espionage services, the Soviet KGB, he experienced a Damascene conversion from the communist systems which have sustained him since 1945. He volunteered his service as an agent in place on behalf of the West. For almost 3 years, risked his life to smuggle thousands of top-secret intelligence and military documents, as well as numerous rolls of microfilm out from behind the Iron Curtain. Then in January 1961, with Soviet bloc spy masters in pursuit, Goleniewski and his mistress Ingrid Kemp made a dramatic merchant defection across divided Berlin. He brought with him to the U.S. consulate yet more top-secret papers and identities of communist agents operating undercover in America and Europe. A subsequent CIA assessment of his tremendous contribution to the security of the West recorded that he had provided the names and details of 1,693 intelligence personalities, including officers, co-opted workers, and agents, an unparalleled haul which has never been matched. Among the most serious spies Goleniewski exposed were George Blake, the KGB's mole inside MI6, the 5 members of the Portland spy ring, which betrayed British military secrets to Moscow, the deputy head of the West Germany Foreign Intelligence Service, a senior Swedish Air Force NATO officer, and a traitor at the highest reaches of the Israeli government. On the other side of the Iron Curtain, Goleniewski had information and evidence to vacillate Soviet bloc spy agencies. In April 1961, a military court in Warsaw tried him in secret in absentia and sentenced him to death. Thereafter, Polish intelligence began an extraordinary 8-year operation to track him down and launched a covert campaign to discredit him in the West. But in late 1963, the United States government abandoned Michael Goleniewski. The CIA reneged on its agreements to pay and protect him and blocked him from testifying to Senate committees. It harassed him, starved him of money, and secretly briefed Congress and friendly journalists that its former star defector had lost his mind. The truth was that about Michael Goleniewski, his story of spying for the West, his defection, and the CIA's ditching of its former star agent is much stranger than the fiction devised by him and his spy handlers at the CIA offices in Langley, Virginia. He was the center of the most serious espionage scandals of the Cold War, and as a zigzag figure, appears in the background as many others. Goleniewski defected in January 1961. The Cold War espionage secrets he exposed became largely obsolete with the fall of communism. in 1981, yet many of the Western intelligence records detailing his remarkable contribution to the national security of the United States, Britain, and its allies remain closed. The organization, which formed 1958 onwards, greatly received Goleniewski's astonishing haul of Soviet bloc intelligence information and microfilms, and after his defection assumed control over him. The CIA has unsurprisingly compiled extensive files on a star agent. It has, however, provided remarkably unwilling to disclose them. Freedom of Information Act requests produced eventually and reluctantly two brief documents, one challenge about the paucity of this disclosure. The agency grudgingly handed over further 14 pages. The FBI, which worked extensively with Goleniewski, had been a little more forthcoming, though the bulk of its intelligence files on him and his information remained resolutely unavailable. In Britain, the Security Service MI5 and the Secret Intelligence Service MI6 are insulated from FOIA requests. The Freedom of Information Act 2000 specifically excludes them from public scrutiny. MI5 does now voluntarily send to the National Archives some of its files, created more than 50 years ago, but this disclosure is entirely dependent on its own unfathomable whims. The Security Service did, after some prompting, disclose that it had created and still held a file on Goleniewski, but said that after careful consideration, we have concluded that we are unable to release it due to the continuing sensitivity of the material contained within it. Fortunately, none of these organizations is particularly efficient at hiding all its relevant documents. A painstaking trial of the FOIA released files on related individuals in cases yielded a large number of pages from the otherwise withheld Goleniewski files. They had been heavily redacted to remove references to his name as well as the cryptonyms assigned to counter-espionage operations launched on the strength of this evidence. Piecing together with scattered fragments was often akin to completing a jigsaw puzzle without the original image for guidance. But the published memoir and private papers of four of Goleniewski's CIA handlers helped fill in some of the missing corners. Yet the most important advance has been the release of the long secret files of Poland intelligence service relating to Michael Goleniewski. They are held and available unredacted at the Institute of National Remembrance in Warsaw and offer a very different perspective on the man and his motivations. By consolidating and cross-referencing these extensive records with the declassified American and British documents, a more nuanced and more human, ultimately more troubling picture emerges as the most important intelligence agent of the early Cold War. Behind the CIA's public claims that their once invaluable agent had tragically lost his mind lies a rather more disturbing story, or rather stories, about the reason the agency cut him adrift, and how that affected Western intelligence. It is a tangible tale which includes the covert recruitment of Nazi war criminals by the U.S. government agencies, and the Goleniewski-inspired mole hunt within both the CIA and MI5. Both agencies, like Goleniewski himself, became lost for a decade in the wilderness and mirrors that is counterintelligence. Their obsessive and ultimately fruitless pursuit of the alleged KGB mole burrowed into their respective senior ranks, tore apart the West's most vital security services just as fatally as their former star defector devastated Soviet bloc intelligence agencies. In the process, the CIA itself became the moving force in driving an already damaged man to genuine madness. The true history of Michael Goleniewski, then, is that a brilliant and courageous spy who was simultaneously a deeply flawed man, As is often the case, driven by the first-hand experience of the KGB's actions and capabilities, he risked his life and that of his family to volunteer his services and intelligence to the West. His an extraordinary, largely untold story of Cold War espionage and skullduggery, of treachery and deceit, of passion and betrayal. But it is also a very human tragedy of a brave man with remarkable intellect who undermined his solitary and fanatical mission with a fatal combination of arrogance, hubris, and personal greed, flaws which were exploited and exaggerated by the country he had risked everything to help until its officials drove him so far down the rabbit hole of intelligence and counter espionage that he ultimately lost his mind. And it all began in the good spying tradition with the anonymous and mysterious letter smuggled across the vital Cold War Europe in April 1958. So that is the introduction to Lieutenant Colonel Michael Goleniewski and how he became Agent Sniper. Tomorrow we'll begin that rabbit hole journey that he went on April 2nd, 1958, when he sent a letter supposedly to the FBI, but it got intercepted. He will tell everything about the interception and everything that happened to him. So that is tomorrow's program on Agent Sniper. And we like what we do here and want to help us do things better. There is a studio fundraiser that is going on to help build a proper studio. It's going to do all these programs more professionally, so you don't hear dogs barking, noises in the background. There's all that separates me from the living room is computer generated green screen provided by Skype or Zoom, and that's it. So if you want us to do these programs more professionally, even better, go to the fundraiser link that is linked on all the Agent Sniper program show pages. So this Lord Military Fitted TV signing off. Day Asphalt.